We all want love, but most of us don't want to date to get it. Because let's be honest, dating kind of sucks. But maybe it doesn't have to if we actually know what we're doing. Hi, I'm Kira Sabin, and this is Reinventing Dating, a smart and sweary podcast for all singles to learn the mindsets and skills to date with intention and confidence. Join me weekly as I break down the science and psychology behind what's working in our dating culture and what isn't. Every week, I bring a new topic, trend, skill, or mindset that can help us get out of our own way to learn how to date for relationships that we actually want. Because love isn't broken, but dating kinda is. But I'm reinventing it. Let's do this. Well, hello there, Sugar Pants, and welcome back to another episode of Reinventing Dating. This week, I am back with another episode, the 6th episode in our current series, Common Dating Questions Through a Modern and Healthy Dating Perspective or Lens. Now, a few things to keep in mind about this series. I'm going to be answering common questions that I am getting asked the most or that I see online, but I'm bringing them here and I'm going to be talking about them in a more non-gender role, healthy, science-backed perspectives. Now, everything that I talk about is coming from a couple of different perspectives. Number one, it is coming from the idea of how do we build lives and relationships that are open and welcoming to love, to giving, to receiving, and creating and evolving and keeping love going, which I don't think is a conversation that we're having enough. I'm also always going to be talking about not how to get a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a date, but how to actually build a partnership, one where both people are all in, taking care of each other, everybody's safe, everybody feels good, everybody's giving and receiving in the relationship, because that's what I see works for me in my relationship and the clients that I have coached. Now, before I get into today's topic, which I think is going to be a really, really, really good one, I want to quickly share an announcement here. And it's an exciting and big announcement that I think everybody who listens to this podcast is going to be excited about. So a couple of years ago, I, with the incredible Loa Raphael, started an idea that I had been thinking about for years, which is teaching people about dating and love and relationships through media, mostly rom-coms, because I think it's something that many of us watch. Everybody I know has probably a rom-com somewhere tucked in their back pocket that they love and is their comfort movie when they're not feeling that good. I certainly have more than a couple. When Harry Met Sally will always be one of my all-time favorite movies, period. But I have over the years become more and more obsessed with teaching through this medium because it's easy to learn when we can actually see things right in front of us playing out, rather than having to make that story up in your head or think about how it relates to a past experience, kind of. We can see it on the screen and learn from it. And I'm bringing it back, but it's going to still be amazing. And it's coming soon. April 3rd is the official date that I am launching. And I'm actually going to be joined. I consider myself a healthy dating educator and expert and coach at this point. And I'm being joined by Dr. Isabel Morley, who is a couples therapist. So we are going to be bringing in the fucking heat of knowledge around dating and relationships. And yes, it'll be funny. Yes, it'll be fun. Yes, we will laugh at how absolutely ridiculous some of these rom-coms are and what they're teaching us. But more importantly, we are going to learn together in a really fun and easy way how to date, how to create relationships, and how to keep them going. Now, if you want to join the special Cool Club Cool Table beforehand, and you'll actually get early access to episodes because we're going to be collecting some reviews early, go ahead and go to Romcom Rescue, which is the new title.com, and you can sign up right there. And that just gets you first looks, first glances of the podcast. You guys can give feedback. You can weigh in on movies, but it's all for free. We're creating a free community for this from the beginning. There will be ways for you to join us for online and hopefully in person events in the future that will be paid. But right now, this is all free because we want to impart all of this knowledge that both of us have to the masses for the greater good. So go check it out. We already have an Instagram up, we have a TikTok up, we have our site up, Romcom Rescue, at all of those. Follow us. There's going to be trivia, there's going to be prizes, there's going to be giveaways, but more importantly, there's going to be helpful, real conversation about love, dating, and relationships. And with all of the noise, especially in social media, of people inundating us with all of these different ideas about what men like and what women like and what to do now and yada, yada, fucking yada, this is going to help cut through the crap, get back to the basics, and help us learn how to do this better. Because when we feel connected, when we have community, when we feel loved, this world changes. And that is what I'm doing here. So go check it out, Romcom Rescue. Follow me, follow Dr. Isabel Morley. You're going to get to hear her a lot more. She is going to be the cooler, smarter version of me. I'll be the swearier, more ridiculous version. But just the same, I think it's going to be incredible. I hope you check it out. All right, so let's get to the topic of today. And it's going to be a little bit different than the podcast has been recently. I've been bringing in a lot of numbers and stats and articles to really show everybody where we came from or what's going on and the numbers that prove it. But today I'm going back to a little bit old school, Kira, which is I'm just riffing on the state of dating and love and relationships right now in 2024, what I'm reading, what I'm seeing, what we can talk about, what we can learn, and just really where do we go from here? And the topic that I'm bringing today that I can promise you wholeheartedly, when I started this business now over 15, almost 16 years ago, I never thought that I'd be having this conversation. But in February, and especially lately, I've been trying to get on more podcasts as guests, radio shows, anything to just start getting this conversation, this message out there. And just because I realized that I've been around for a while, but a lot of people don't know who I am. I've been pretty quiet in my corner and I don't want to be fucking quiet anymore because love in this shit in this conversation is absolutely imperative and worth it. So the topic today is, do we need love and relationships to be happy? Because I don't know if you guys are seeing this or if it's just in my corner of the world, but I do read a ton of articles. I listen to podcasts. I have really, in the last year especially, upped my research on dating, the dating apps, dating culture, all of it, specifically here in America. And I do have quite a few Canadian clients, but I do want to say a couple of disclaimers. This will be more for the American culture and what I'm seeing here. I can't speak to every country because I don't live and research every country. And every country has different values, has different priorities, has different religions a lot of times. So dating here doesn't look the same as everywhere. Next, I'm always going to be speaking to the rule, not the exception. I heard some really good feedback a couple of weeks ago when I said, we're not talking about the urban legends of so and so's brother's cousin ended up dating and marrying the person they cheated with. So hence, we should all do that. I noticed that we hold on to these singular stories that we sometimes hear years ago that are pretty much in alignment with the kid drinking Coke and Pop Rocks and dying in the 80s. They're these kind of myths or legends that single people hold on to I want to say for hope, but I think it's more for fear and isn't helping us. But here's the deal, we have better information now. We have more research now. We can do better than random ass stories that don't reflect the overall dating culture, which is what I am talking to. And then finally, whenever I talk about this is what I see happening to men or this is what I see happening to women, it is a little more hetero. I don't think that this is specifically just for heterosexuals. I think that we're seeing a lot of things just happening to gender and gender roles. But I'm more speaking about how we are talking about men, how we are talking to men as a culture, or how we're talking to women as a culture versus all men are like this and all women are like that, which I think is honestly a continuing opinion that needs to be, I don't know if it's debunked, but just the fact that we just have so many people still referring to a whole, billions of people population as one thing, a hive mind is really silly. My best friend is a man. His name is Danny. He is my husband. We met when I was in my 40s. We got married at 45. Have been together 10 years and our relationship is stronger and better than ever. So not only do I talk about this, not only do I teach this, not only do I coach on this, I live it and I back it up. I walk the fucking talk because it's all well and good to talk about dating and relationships from an expert point of view, but I'm also interested in the people who are in the trenches doing it. And that was me. I didn't meet my soulmate at 18 or in college. I dated and mated and failed at it for many, many years until I got real with myself, kind of cut the bullshit out, and started doing this intentionally. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. Those are my quick disclaimers. But I didn't think that I would be having the conversation with people that love exists, that good and healthy relationships exist, that it is worthwhile dating, that there are still great people out there, that you can still have a good relationship, even if it doesn't look like what your parents did, or your grandparents, or your great grandparents. I literally did not think we'd be having this conversation. But I cannot help but look at all of the information lately that's telling me that we're questioning. And not only are we questioning, I'm talking to past clients, I'm talking to people I worked with 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and just like, how are you doing? How are things going? Are you dating? And a lot of them are like, no, I'm pretty happy by myself. I have a good life. I have good friends. I maybe like my job or I'm really focused on that right now. And I'm just not making dating a priority. And that's fucking okay. Like the first thing I want to fucking say is that is okay. If not that you need my permission to stay single, to be single and be happy, you certainly don't. But I do want everybody to know that my goal with every person that I talk to, with every client that I work with, is for you to be happy, for your life to feel fulfilled, for you to not only just survive, but thrive. And the truth about that is we need relationships to thrive. Now, let me say it this way because we get very confused when I say that. For some reason, as a culture, because we love to obsess about being in love and having romantic relationships and having partners and spouses and girlfriends and boyfriends and everything else, that is not what I'm saying. You do not have to have romantic love to be happy, period. Does everybody hear that? You do not. Science has backed that up. Here is what you do need to have. And this is based on a 75 plus year study from Harvard. I'm going to read this little part to you. After starting with 724 participants, boys from disadvantaged and troubled families in Boston, and Harvard undergraduates, the study incorporated the spouses of the original men and, more importantly, more than 1,300 descendants of the initial group. This is a study that's been happening for 75 plus years. Researchers periodically interview participants, ask them to fill out questionnaires, and collect information about their physical health. As the study's director, Bob, and the associate director, Mark, have been able to watch participants fall in and out of relationships, find success and failure at their jobs, become mothers and fathers, and it's the longest in-depth longitudinal study on human life ever done. And it's brought us to a simple and profound conclusion. Good relationships lead to health and happiness. And the big trick about that is those relationships need to be nurtured. So what we found from this Harvard study is that to not only survive, but to thrive in our world, we need good, healthy relationships. So what does that mean, right? What does that mean? That means that if you are dating or in a romantic relationship with someone, that it's healthy, that both people feel needed, that both people feel like their voice and their needs in the relationship are heard, that there is good and solid communication and trust, so that on the day-to-day basis, you feel basically secure that that relationship's going to continue going. You feel safe emotionally and physically in that relationship. And you feel more like they're your best friend and the person that is your family. Now, there's a big wake-up call for me. I actually did this as a podcast not that long ago about my own story. But there's a wake-up call for me when I was 40 years old and my father had a massive tumor in his stomach. And I slowly watched him fade away from my life. And there is a wake up that we don't talk about enough, that when we stay single, a lot of times we hold on to our parents as family. And there was a wake up call for me at 40 years old when I realized these two people who I'd still been counting on for a really, really long time were not going to be around forever. That's just an unfortunate truth about life and death. And if that's true, what kind of family was I going to have moving forward? I will be honest, that plagued me for about 6 months to a year. That idea that I'm like, this is changing. This is shifting. This person I counted on to help me change my tires, weigh in on my life, is not able to do that anymore. So I want to share that with you, not as a fear, but as a very real thing that we don't always think about it. That if we've decided to stop dating, that if we've decided to not have romantic relationships moving forward, I am thumbs up, all power to you. But we still need community. We still need friendships. And ultimately, I think the people that thrive most are ones that feel like they have family. Now, the exciting thing in 2024, because this is not true of the past, is that we get to decide what those relationships are. We get to decide what those relationships look like and feel like for us. We get to decide if we want to live with somebody or not. We get to decide if we want to have sex or not. We get to decide whether we want to have romance or not, or just somebody that makes us feel good and safe. And the truth is, love can come from anywhere. But relationships where you can feel that love and connection on a regular basis are ultimately what's going to help keep you healthy and happy. So, if you are somebody who has decided to stop dating, has decided to step back and not go after that, more power to you. Honestly, I thought I would be that person. I made some bold fucking choices in my early 40s, and I'm really glad I did. But I went through a lot of heartache and a lot of pain and a lot of poor choices in my past that made me question A, if I would ever find somebody, B, if anybody would ever really like me as is, as I was getting older, as I was putting on more weight through uh, PCOS and perimenopause. So, as much as I wanted to say outwardly, I'm just not that interested in it, the truths for me were, and they may not be for you, but they were for me. I was nervous and scared and did not like putting myself out there. It felt vulnerable, and the chance of rejection was literally paralyzing. The chance of possibly liking another person who may say something about my weight or my body or the way that I talk or carry myself or whatever, that fear was a lot. So, as much as people would say, "Are you dating? Are you wanting to date?" And I'm like, "You know what? I'm kinda good over here as a single," which was not untrue. It wasn't the whole truth. The whole truth was I did want a relationship. The whole truth was when I'm sitting there watching whatever rom-com or romantic movie or book that I'm reading or whatever, at the end of it, there was a long sigh of, boy, do I wish that would happen for me. That might be you, that may not be you. I will also tell you this. I have never been in an abusive relationship. I have never been physically or emotionally abused by a spouse or a partner. I cannot speak to that experience or the trauma from that experience. I just dated a lot of guys who weren't ready, who weren't really looking for commitment, didn't know how to show up for me, didn't know how to fucking even show up for themselves. And I got a lot of my hopes up many times again and took that rejection to heart so many times. So my pain is not on the same level as some other people's pain. And I get that, and I 100% respect that. But we have to start having real conversations about this because there's research that backs this up. So, a couple of articles I've seen over the last few days, dating apps are over. There are more people living single and choosing single than ever. That's one of them that I've read, where it quotes to say in 1990, adults were more than twice as likely to be married than on their own. But by 2019, that gap between the two groups has narrowed considerably. And in fact, I don't remember where I saw it, but I believe I saw just recently that we have more singles in our population than we've maybe ever had in our in history. I don't think that that's good or bad. And here is what I also know. I also know that there have been, particularly women, because I talk more to women, so I can't speak to every experience of guys out there. But I have seen a lot of women get into terrible relationships, relationships that drag them, relationships where that person talks down to them publicly and privately, where they are physically or emotionally abused, where somebody has a severe addiction, which will always take the priority over that relationship. I have seen and heard stories of people going through personal hells. I cannot speak to that. If you are somebody who has gone through hell and back and you're like, at this point, for my own sanity, I just need to keep the peace in my head and my life, do that. Always fucking do that. But start looking for how to have more community and connection in your life because we always still need that. We always still need family. So, for those of you who have worked with a therapist, have maybe had some pretty big trauma from either your childhood or the adult relationships you have had, And if you are at a beautiful, calm space for the first time in your life, you should definitely do that and work on your friendships and work on connecting and work on creating your own version of family. And by the way, pets can be a part of that. Animals definitely can. And it can look a lot of different ways. But once again, whether we stay single or not, we still need people. We still need connection. We need human touch. We need to feel like we belong. So, anybody out there who feels that way, I see you, I hear you. Build your community, my friend, and make me a part of it. Now, that's some people, but that's not everybody. And I want to move this conversation over to if you still think you might want to date. If you think that somewhere down the road, you might want to try dating and have a relationship again. Why maybe that feels really hard right now, why so many people are stepping back, and what we can do about it. So, a few things that I'm seeing, we are waking up from not only decades, but centuries of really unhelpful information about love, dating, and relationships that has left us disappointed and tired. Now, most of us don't want what our parents had. Some of us like really glorify what our grandparents had, but once again, that was a different time where women didn't really have rights. So to glorify that is complicated. But I do think that many of us think with phones and technology and apps and everything else that it feels more complicated than it used to. And I guess I want to bring us back to dating, still dating. Meeting people is still meeting people. It is awkward. It is hard. It is fucking weird. That doesn't change. And some corporations for about 15 to 20 years now have told us that they came up with a solution that you don't even have to fucking leave your bed or your couch to find love. I don't know about you, but I'm going to tell you right now, I think it has hurt more than helped. And I'm seeing people, I'm going to be dramatic when I say this, but who are downright traumatized or have PTSD from dating apps, particularly women. And what do I mean by that? I mean that let's say that you're like, "Hey, I'm going to try this. It's going to be fun. I'm willing to put myself out there a little." So maybe you start matching or liking or whatever the fuck app you choose. You may get zero response. So even though we have no idea if that person's even a real person, by the way, if there's a scammer, I bet there won't be zero response because they want your money. But truths, let's call it for what it is. There are going to be people who are all up in your grill because they want to build that fake relationship with you so that they can take advantage of you as soon as possible. That's the absolute truth. But if you're a normal person and you're just trying to talk to normal people, you may start conversations that never go anywhere. You might reach out, start having conversations with somebody who you're really interested in, and then they ghost you or they just go away or they unmatch you. You may be sent dick pics that you didn't ask for or other sexual things that you're not interested in with somebody you don't fucking know. The thing is that it has made dating fucking dirty. And I'm not saying that dating has ever been good. It's ever been that much fun. But it is added on layers of harassment, of scamming, of bullshit that has left everybody tired. Not just women, but men. And in case you guys didn't see that, because I love everybody who sends me articles. But one of the things that I just saw happen on Valentine's Day is people are starting to sue dating apps, particularly Match.com, which I will remind everybody owns almost all dating apps. Over the years, any kind of decent competition, they've come in and bought out so that they own, I don't know, 95% of the main dating apps besides Bumble. So if you're like, why does this feel like these are all the same? It's because they're owned by the same company doesn't do shit for people and puts people who are good matches behind paywalls because they're to make money. So this lawsuit is actually about people feeling like it's gamification, that dating apps are becoming addictive and people are exhausted and over them. And I don't think they're fucking wrong. I think we should all be way more critical at a company that is selling you the idea of potential love and relationships. All they can really sell you is a different way to meet people. But this ghosting, the emotional unavailability that we're seeing, the love bombing, all of this shit is made easier for these people through dating apps. So let me tell you this. An extremely emotionally unavailable person who is really only looking for attention for somebody to feel worthy for a short while versus an actual relationship, they're not getting that far in real life. Their bullshit is going to be detected quickly and easily when you are spending time with them. And most likely, honestly, they won't even bother spending time with you because they're not actually interested in committing or trying that hard or doing the actual work that dating and relationships take. So online dating has just kind of taken people who would not really be out there or would have to work on themselves to be out there to not do it. Now, I don't particularly actually buy into the term lazy. There's a whole theory out there. There's a person named Devin Price who wrote a book about how laziness doesn't exist and it's actually more about fear and societal expectations and racism and a lot of other things. But here is what I will say. Online dating has made us feel that the potential of love and relationships is easy and convenient, and it's not. Ultimately, online dating has made us a little lazy. It's made us believe that there are thousands, if not millions, of options out there for us. It has made us think that we can do something such as meet people, date, and have a significant relationship from the comfort of our couch without having to be vulnerable or real. And that's just not fucking true. And I know we all want it to be true because how much easier is it to believe or feel like we can shop for our future partner on an app versus putting clothes on, making conversation, and all of the stuff that can make dating feel really, really hard. I'm pretty fascinated with Drew Barrymore that since she's become a host, and I think that in that process, maybe not too long ago, she's gotten divorced. And so she's single and out there dating. And she's talking a lot about that with different celebrities that come on, different people, some that she's just met or known for years. And they keep talking about how dating is so hard. And I just want to say that not that it's not hard, because it fucking is, but what's hard about it is that it's vulnerable. We don't want to date because it's vulnerable. And we have to show our soft, marshmallowy, gooey sides. We have to show all parts of us, not just the good stuff. We have to let people into our weird fucking little worlds And that feels scary, especially in a world where there's social media and AI and filters, and it feels like everybody else's life is perfect. And the minute that I have now been saying for years that online dating isn't working, that it's actually harmful, that it's really dangerous for a lot of women in particular who are being raped after first dates because dating apps do not screen for sex offenders. So, besides all of that, the success rate is 10% and you're paying for it. At the end of the day, whether it was your grandparent or your parent, anybody who has had a long-term significant relationship that is working and happy has had to work for it to be that way. So online dating for me and what I see is definitely a reason, if not the number one reason, why love and dating and relationships feel harder for us than ever. But here's the next one. I feel like all the rules that we'd had before, and by the way, since dating is still a pretty newer thing, it didn't start until the 1900s. There have never been hard and fast rules, but what rules we did have are not working anymore. And so nobody knows what they're doing. I've been saying this for years, but I'll keep saying it. If nobody knows what we're doing, if we are waiting for the other person to tell us what to do, and then we have all of these women who just want somebody to like them and scared shitless to ask for help, to ask for what they need in a relationship, to speak up, to not rock the boat. A lot of women identify as anxious attachment. So that's naturally what's happening in dating. They're hoping somebody likes them. They hope somebody chooses them, and they're not speaking up for their needs. Now, on the opposite side of that, the majority of men are avoidance. And what avoidance are doing are holding people at arm's length. They are not really committing. They're not really defining the relationship. And the guys who are trying to not be avoidant anymore are hoping women, especially after things like the Me Too movement, will tell them what they need, tell them what they want so that they can show up and do better. So, do we see the clusterfuck here? Do we see what's happening? Women are scared to speak up and ask for what their needs are, and honestly, in so many ways, don't even fucking know what their needs are. And then we have guys, the good guys, who want to date, want to be respectful, want to make sure that they're not offending. They're hoping that women speak up, women show them what they need, what they're hoping for, and nobody's talking to anybody. Everybody's just making assumptions, and we're all fucking each other in the process. Literally and figuratively. So we are starting to think that nobody wants love anymore. Untrue. So we're starting to think there's not good people out there. Completely untrue. Just nobody knows what to do. And everybody's fucking scared as shit. And that fear is becoming paralyzing. And we're also paralyzed by just the exhaustion of living life in a digital world in 2024. We have less time to date, less time to connect, less time for community because we're all working so fucking hard and hanging out on our phones and binge watching Netflix just to make it through life. Do we see how we are only surviving at best? So here we are. It's 2024. Online dating isn't working. Not any part of it. What do we do now? And let me tell you, the fear in the voices, or at least over text that I hear when I keep shouting, online dating isn't working, we need to get off online dating. The first thing everybody asks is like, well, if we're not online dating, what are we doing? Let me remind you, or just let you know right now, you're not going to like my answer. People want me to have the next cool and upcoming thing that's going to make this easier for them. And what I will say to you is that doesn't exist. You need to get offline. You need to leave your house. You will have to talk to people. You will have to let people know that you're interested in meeting, that you're interested in dating. That's just the truth. And I'm just going to apologize for our world right now that anybody let you believe that that wasn't true. You cannot hack love. You cannot hack dating, and you cannot hack relationships. Even if you pay somebody thousands of dollars as a matchmaker to set you up with someone, you will still have to learn and know how to have a relationship with them. We can't simplify this. There is no easy way that you don't have to be vulnerable and real and get love. Here are some things to remember if you're still deciding if you want to date. Number 1, we have to want it because we don't have to have it anymore. I think this is the first podcast I ever did, and it's down now and it's in the vault. But the very first podcast I think I ever did was just this basic thought. We are in a time in our culture, particularly for women, where we don't have to be in a relationship. And that's never been true. And what we're seeing is, after years and years and years of oppression, after years and years of being the main domestic worker in the house, who then also went to work, so they were doing full-time job, raising kids, cooking and cleaning, that we're saying enough. And if that's the only option for relationships, most women are going to say no, and I want them to. Because those relationships not only didn't work for women, but they also didn't work for men. And here is why. And I've said this a lot lately, but I'm going to keep on saying it. We have given men, particularly white men, a shit ton of power, but we have not empowered them. We have just basically put them on some fucking pedestal they didn't deserve. And it's lonely up there. And we can be like, wah, wah, boo-hoo, white men, yada, yada. But at the end of the day, we're all still living in this world. We're still dating this world. We're having relationships in this world. And this is affecting all of us. But guys, I'm speaking to you. And if primarily women are listening to this, share this with the guys that you know so we can all be having these conversations. Guys, if you think that women should have to step back, that women should have to go back to a former version of themselves to make you happier, you need to bite me. You need to fuck right off right now. That's not going to happen. It should have never happened, and it didn't do right by you either, because men learned how to be maybe respected, but never loved. Men were put on a pedestal, but never had connection. We all lost out in these former versions of marriage and relationships. Nobody was feeling good. There wasn't a lot of deep love because women didn't have enough rights to get to choose to be there. Love and relationships in 2024 are fucking beautiful because you choose to be there. Anyone who is choosing to go out and date and start a relationship with you doesn't have to be there. We want this. That's good for all of us. If the only reason relationships have been working for thousands of years is because one person was forced to do it, I think we can do better. Don't you? So the one thing that I see, guys, especially these young men who are following the Andrew Tates and the more trad wife, hashtag trad wife, what they don't get or understand is in those relationships, there's not enough respect and trust to be deep love, and connection. Guys, I want to ask you to step into a new way of thinking that isn't all about power and control and instead is about love and belonging and connection. And how would that actually feel? You don't want a traditional wife because that person doesn't feel good enough to ever fully be able to love you. You don't want a traditional wife because the ups and downs of the goods and bads of relationships that happen when the couple is in it together don't happen because one person is dealing with the brunt of the bullshit. Why Danny and I are so fucking strong in this relationship is because we are 100% in, and everybody contributes and gives and receives from this relationship. And let me tell you, I am such a better person, not only because I have learned how to receive love and pleasure and kindness and warmth and connection and intimacy, but I'm also a better person because Danny has learned how to receive love and pleasure and kindness and warmth and connection. And we feel like each other's family and the people that we can be from the safety of that space is mind blowing. That is what healthy relationships do. They fucking heal you. But my friends who are listening to this, you want those relationships without having to do any of the work for it. We don't talk enough about this because we're living in some dream world created by rom-coms and romance novels about being fucking saved. But what real relationships with connection and trust, and they heal you. They fucking heal you. But my friends who are listening to this, many of you want those relationships without having to do any of the uncomfortable work for it. Work meaning tough conversations, asking for what you need, showing who you are, being able to set boundaries, being able to know yourself well enough to choose wisely for you. And the craziest thing to me after all of these years is the number one question I get asked when I talk about Danny and my relationship and how healthy and functioning and healing it is not how did you guys do that, but where do I find a Danny? Don't you think that's interesting? That we think that it's the other person and it just magically happens with the right person versus how do I find a good and willing participant and rock this out with them? Our focus is on the wrong things. When Dr. Isabel and I were meeting this week about the new podcast, we were talking about attachment styles, what she was, what I was, what our spouses were. And she reminded me of a term that I think is really important. When people start to learn about attachment styles and maybe they learn that they're anxious or they learn that the person they like is avoidant or maybe they're disorganized, but the ultimate goal, the only secure out of the 4 attachment styles is secure. So the other ones are insecure. So what do I get asked? Not how do I heal my attachment style, but where do I find secure guys? Dr. Isabel reminded me that her relationship, and this is exactly how I would describe Danny's relationship with me, is we are earned secure. We were not secure when we entered the relationship. I was extremely anxious. He was pretty darn avoidant. But through the years of trust and building and respect, we have created an earned, secure relationship. But so many people I talk to are just hoping that you can have a secure relationship by dating somebody secure, which I don't really think that actually exists that much, without doing anything for it. without creating the trust and respect and commitment that we have to have for it to be secure. And then finally, I want to say something when I'm saying, so what do we do now? And I'm just throwing this number out there because I think it makes sense. I think your 20s, probably dating are a little bit easier just because there's going to be more of a single population. A lot of people have not, quote unquote, settled down yet. So, when you go to college or after that, it's a little bit easier. Usually there's multiple single people in a social circle. So this number is not based on anything, but just what I thought when I was putting together the notes for this podcast. Here's a fucking truth that nobody's telling you, but I guess we're doing hard truths today. If you're over the age of 30 and you want to date, you are going to actively have to try to date and meet people. You're going to have to try. I think that with part of the fairy tales and romances and rom-coms, we just kind of think it's going to happen to us. We think that somehow we'll meet them at work or through a friend and it's just going to happen. And I'll tell you, it was a real fucking wake-up call for me when I turned 40, when I realized I hadn't prioritized this, when I spent years traveling or working on cruise ships or then building this business. I had not actively tried. Not even a bit. Not since my 20s. I did not let people know I was looking. I did not let people know that I was open to dating people. And let me tell you this. Even my own father was shocked that I was even interested in dating my own father, who I had a close relationship to, was shocked that because he didn't think I even was interested. Which made me go, my God, who else in my life doesn't actually know that I'm interested in dating and having a relationship? Turns out everybody. Turns out that me taking care of my good old super independent self over here, not asking for help, not needing anything, just acting like I'm A-okay over here and have my shit together, which I don't. They thought I was cool. And so when I told them, shit's kind of hit the fan for me. And when this comes down, I think I want to meet people. I ended up meeting Danny through a friend. Which, by the way, I think is the number one way to still meet people. In fact, numbers suggest that. But before that even happened, I had to get real with myself about how I felt about myself, how I was putting myself out there, admitting what I actually wanted, which was a long-term relationship, and trying. I had to try. And I'm so sorry to be the person to tell you this, but so will you. And it was scary, and it was uncomfortable, and I had to look at real shit about myself and how I felt about myself. And there was crying and a lot of tears, but it was fucking worth it. Which leads me to the final section of this podcast is, how do we fix this? How do we, as a society, start to look at dating as something good again? Start believing that there's good people and love and healthy relationships out there if you know how to create them. And I'm going to say something very bold here for a second, and most of you aren't going to want to hear it, but this is the truth. Almost every person that I get on a phone call with for 30 minutes and discuss dating, discuss where they're at, what they're trying, why they're not, my number one takeaway is actually how little they know about dating and relationships. I don't mean to be a dick at all. At all. I did a bunch of calls over the last 6 months to just start talking to singles again, to find out where they're struggling, to find out where they're frustrated and disappointed, and, what do they want to do to work on it and fix it. And I realized at the end of every one of those conversations, even people who had been listening to my podcast for years, they didn't know. They didn't see their shit. They didn't see how they were getting in their own way. And most of them didn't even know what healthy dating in a relationship looked like. I'm not trying to suck when I say that, or like I'm some superior being over here with all of the love knowledge. What I am saying is there is a ton of knowledge and information and research that has been done, particularly in the last 20 to 25 years, about these topics that our parents would not have known. So you wouldn't have been taught. Your teachers didn't know. So you wouldn't have been taught it that way. But that can make this better and easier. And the fact that on the regular basis that I'll talk to somebody who maybe wants to work with me, and then I get a text that says, "Oh, I've just had a third date with a great person, so, if this one doesn't work out, maybe I'll check back in." That's not what this is about. This is not about finding someone. This is about creating something bigger with that someone. This work isn't about getting you into a relationship. This work is about getting you into a relationship that fucking works and feels good. Of course, none of us want to date because the majority of relationships we see are shit. I am so happy to not have friendships where all the women do is bitch about their spouses and partners. I don't exist in that world, but many people do. We have made it the norm to talk to your friends about your relationship or even talk to professionals versus talking to your partner. We have made it the norm to believe that once you find somebody and fall in love, it's just going to fucking work out, which doesn't make sense because nothing in life works like that. The hard truth of how we fix this is whether you choose to be single for the rest of your life or whether you choose to at some point to start trying to date again, you will be choosing your heart. I'm sure you've seen that on social media somewhere, like we choose our heart. We either choose to maybe work on exercising and upping our movement, or we choose the very realistic, now that I'm 50 fucking years old, world that goes along with not doing that. We can choose to stay single, not want to let people into our world, not want to try, but there are parts that are probably going to be lonely. And as you get older, that might get harder for you. If you don't have community, if you don't have family, that can be a very lonely existence. And it can be very scary when things happen to you. I just want to have real conversations because that's real. You don't have to fucking have romantic love. You don't have to ever have a boyfriend or girlfriend or a spouse or a partner. But this world gets weird and pretty lonely and pretty scary when we don't have community at all. When it comes to dating and relationships, we choose our heart. You can choose to date, eyes closed, hoping it just works out, and then wake up 2 years later into it, realizing that you have no idea who this person is, you have no idea how to have a relationship, and now you feel worse in a relationship than you did single. How does that change? It's not about choosing our heart even. It's about choosing your priorities and the work that you do. I don't know why as a society, the only time that we talk about relationships is when they're failing. When people are divorcing. When people are miserable. The only time we talk about healthy relationships and how to create them is when they're already going so badly that you can't even see your way out of them. Why are we not talking about the things that you can do, the not even that hard, tough, or expensive things that you can do right now to make this easier? Why are we willing to believe in fucking flying cars in the next 10 years, but we're not willing to put some time and energy in choosing the most important fucking person in our life if you are choosing a life partner? And I don't want to say that just because it's a romantic partner, it's the most important person in your life, but particularly, I'm not even speaking right now to people who want families, who want children. If you do, this work should be a prerequisite to marriage. because that person is going to be in your life for the rest of your life now. You are going to be bringing children into the world with that person. And if they are not a healthy, happy person who can create a relationship and a healthy family with you, you are choosing your own personal hell. That is not a hard that I'm going to encourage people to choose. If you know that you want to date and have a relationship and maybe a family, get intentional. This isn't just going to happen to you. Start giving up the idea that this is just going to fall into your lap. It's not. Nothing that we really want ever does. Get intentional. If I ask you the question right now, what are you looking for in a person for a relationship? Can you answer that question? If no, start there. How are we supposed to find what we're looking for if we don't even know what we're looking for? If there's shit that you know you need to heal it, get into therapy, EMDR, get some support, get some help so that you are not looking at the world through a lens or perspective of constant fear or scarcity. But more importantly, if you know you want this, get offline. That's where love is, that's where dating is, and that's where real relationships are. The multi-billions of dollars that people have lost in online romance scams goes away immediately when we get offline. Billions of dollars would be saved if we just met the person in real life. So, here's the big question. Everybody asks, okay, fuck Kira, if we're going to get offline, if we're not going to do dating apps, what do we do? Right? Like there's a special Love Island, I'm not talking about the TV show, where all the singles are and you need to go there, you need to move there. No. We're going back to old school because that's what fucking worked. Do you want to know what has grown in the last year? Speed dating events, singles events, other group dating parties. They have absolutely made a comeback in the last couple years. Dating events have grown on Eventbrite by over 163% in 2023. Other people are wanting this. And the thing is, as I was talking to some clients recently about, this isn't even a quantity thing because there are literally millions of singles in the US alone. This is about as many people as possible being on board with this is the way that we meet people. That's what needs to happen here. There's such a scarcity and a lack around dating. Like, we better nail down this person or maybe nobody else will come along or there's probably not going to be anybody for me. The quantity, my friends, is not the issue here by any means. There are plenty of singles. We just as a group, a society, needs to start the conversation about getting offline, about going to some of these events, about finding ways to make them safe and smart and interesting and helpful. Is it scarier to go to a speed dating event and have to meet like 10 people in an hour? Yeah. You know why we don't like dating? It's fucking vulnerable. It's the same kind of fear as looking for a job. You're putting yourself out there in a way where people might say no. Where people might say, I'm not interested in getting to know you. That feels scary as fuck. And it can feel kind of painful. But you're going to have so much better success in real life than you are online. And ultimately, the average guy isn't pulling down his pants on your first date like you might be getting a dick pic. There's just going to be a shit ton more appropriate behavior because online is like the wild, wild west of chaos and nobody is reeling it back in. I have been nothing but impressed recently by going online and seeing so many new ways to meet people in real life. A few things that you may not even know is happening. I recently started the conversation on Instagram like, okay, real question. How do we make speed dating a thing? How do we make it a thing we actually want to do and like? Now, I can't take away the pain of vulnerability in putting yourself out there, right? We can build self-worth. That can help. We can help build some confidence around it and some skills so you know what you're doing and what you're looking for. But I can't take that whole pain away. Just like I can't take the pain away of job searching. All of that is a really vulnerable time in our lives. But I can tell you that there's a lot more offline events in cities. I looked for clients recently in New York, in LA. Somebody even in small town Wisconsin was like, yeah, I'd like to speed date. And I literally just sent her a link because she's like, there's not any in the area. And I literally sent her a link 2 minutes later that was like, hey, this is happening next week. I see paint and sip events. There are things like pickleball and spin classes now. There are running clubs that people are joining. That's a major thing. I now see in major cities a big thing that's happening, particularly in LA, are social clubs for singles, right? Where you join and you have a subscription or a membership, and then you get to go and participate in different events. And the thing I want to remind you of is even if that sounds terrible or you're like, oh, that tends to be more women or men or whatever, it doesn't matter because we're building community here. And the number one way to still meet people is through friends. And we want to meet them through friends because friends are not going to introduce you to a psychopath, hopefully. Your friends aren't going to introduce you to a really, really unhealthy person. Anytime that your friend's like, you should meet my brother or my cousin or my coworker, my guess is they know enough about that person to at least give a little seal of approval, maybe not the 100%. But that is such a better and smarter way of dating. And for fuck's sake, that's the way we've been dating for thousands of years. You don't need thousands of options. You just need one. That's it. That's all you need. And by the way, go back to my episode on paradox of choice if you think you need thousands of options. Another thing, a way that we fix this, look at what happens when you feel rejected. Here's a truth that I hear a lot. Somebody goes on a date or a few dates or likes somebody for a couple of months and it doesn't work out. Now, maybe it ends fine, or maybe it doesn't end as well. Maybe there's ghosting. And the thing is that maybe you've only met that person once or twice. Maybe it's a little bit longer. Not the rejection, but what we make that rejection mean is huge. And if you don't know how to date without taking every person who doesn't want to date you back, who doesn't want to create a relationship with you, as anything but a personal rejection that is all about who you are, and you start to question everything about everything you've ever done or said, or the way you look, or everything about you, there is work there to be done. And that work is called self-worth building. And that work is also called resilience and grit. For as many people are out there on online dating apps saying they want love, saying they want relationship, they sure don't have a lot of resilience in it. If you get taken down after a couple bad dates, if you get taken down because a person that you barely know doesn't want to date you back or start something with you when you have no idea why, you got work there, my friends. Because almost everything in life that's worth doing and doing well is going to take some resilience. One of the things that has blown my mind the most of doing this work with people is how quickly people give up. How many people I meet in their 30s and 40s who are convinced that love is not for them, that maybe relationships aren't for them. And when I start to dig in, like, how much have you actually dated? How much have you actually tried? What's worked or didn't? We find out they maybe haven't really tried that hard. We find out that they're attaching to people who they shouldn't be attaching to and then blaming themselves when it doesn't work out. And sometimes they have one or two bad experiences and then stop dating for years. How does that make sense to give your power away to somebody you barely know and stop trying for years because of some unhealed fucking person? What else can we do about this? Focus on connection and community over romantic love. Get our own personal clarity. Know what you want, what you're looking for, and get comfortable saying it to people out loud. As a reminder, nobody knew I was open to dating. If all of this feels hard, build your skills. Know the questions you want to ask. Know how to set a boundary. Know what's actually a deal breaker or red flag and know what's not. And I think one of the biggest ways that we can continue to evolve dating in a smart way is ask the very simple question, how do we make each other feel emotionally and physically safe on these dates so we can let our walls down, not be so nervous, not have such huge expectations, and actually get to know each other and connect? Because I see that as a major problem. I think tons of people don't want to date because it doesn't feel safe. So what's the biggest takeaway from this hour-long me ranting and swearing about dating and relationships and the state of dating in our world right now? I want you guys to know there's hope. I want you to know that right now, we're just having a backlash to changing gender roles and technology and evolving relationships. And everybody's just confused right now. But that doesn't have to be forever. And that doesn't even have to be you. I do this work. I do this work with people. I am even doing it now locally. If you want to come hang out with me in Madison for 3 or 4 days and dig into your shit and walk away with knowledge, information, resources, and how to do this better, come hang out with me. We will eat solid as fuck food, really good dairy, even vegan dairy, and we'll have fun because I'm kind of fun to hang around. I'm not going to lie. We'll probably even watch a rom-com and break it down. But know, if you think deep down somewhere in the back of your head that you at some point want to date and have a relationship, you're going to have to work on it. You're going to have to leave your house. But know this is real, and I want you to have hope. That it's more a lack of knowledge and confusion that's hurting us more than anything right now. People are scared. People are nervous. People are tired. They've been disappointed. We're also worried we're too broken or have too much baggage, but everybody's going to have baggage. Knowing how to work through your shit, that's the key. But more than ever, I see people wanting to get offline and have real, authentic connections in real life. And that's exciting. It's okay if you need to take a break. It's okay if you need to reset for a while. But do know, if you want this, you will have to go after it. And there are things that you can do and put into place that'll make it easier. All right, guys, that's it for this week. What did you learn? If you liked this, if you loved it, please make sure you subscribe. Come check out reinventingdating.com. And one huge favor, please share this with the other singles that you know, so we can all reinvent dating together. Because when we know what love is, when we know our mindsets, when we understand how we work, we understand the skills, we can get in better relationships, period. All right, guys, I will see you next week. Until then, my sugar pantses, meet love halfway.